Hello everyone, welcome to Pabbly Connect. Today in this video, we are going to integrate two software applications, Razorpay and WooCommerce. So the use case here is, whenever an invoice is paid in Razorpay, automatically create order in WooCommerce. First, let us know what these two software applications are all about. So Razorpay is an online payment gateway, whereas WooCommerce is a software application where you can set up your online store. The issue here is that Razorpay and WooCommerce don't have any integration between them, and that is why we are going to use Pabbly Connect. So Pabbly Connect is an integration software which will help you to transfer data from Razorpay to WooCommerce. The best part here is you don't require any knowledge of coding. So let me show you this on my screen.
Okay, so here I am at Google, and now I will go to this URL section over here, and I'm going to type pabbly.com. Okay, so this is the website of Pabbly, and now I will hover over this product section over here, and I'm going to click on connect. Okay, so now I will sign into my account, so I'm going to click on sign in. Okay, so now because I have already signed into my account, that is why I am here. You can also sign up for free and create your free account in just 2 minutes. Here, I would like to mention one more thing. You can try out this integration in Pabbly Connect absolutely free. So if you want, you can create your account right now and set up your own automation. The link is available in the description box below the video. Okay, so now I will scroll down, and here at Connect, I am going to click on Access Now. Okay, so this is the dashboard of Pabbly Connect, and now I'm going to create a new workflow by clicking on this Create Workflow button. Okay, so now I'm going to name this workflow, and I will name it as Razorpay to WooCommerce. Okay, so now in this workflow, we are going to integrate Razorpay with WooCommerce using Pabbly Connect. So first, I am going to integrate Razorpay with Pabbly Connect, and then I will integrate WooCommerce with Pabbly Connect. So now in Choose App, I am going to choose Razorpay first. This one. Okay. Now in trigger event, according to our workflow, whenever an invoice is paid in Razorpay, we want to create order in WooCommerce automatically. That is why invoice paid will be our trigger event over here. Now you can see we have various other options available. You can select whichever you want according to your choice. And if you don't get the trigger event of your choice, you can contact our team at admin@pabbly.com, and our team will help you to look for your specific trigger event. So here I am going to click on invoice paid because this is our trigger event over here. Now you might have a question in your mind that what is this term called trigger? What am I trying to explain? So let me tell you that automation runs on the concept of triggers and actions. It is all about when something happens, do this. For example, when a sale happens, send an email. In our case, when an invoice is paid in Razorpay, create order in WooCommerce. So invoice paid in Razorpay will be our trigger, whereas creating order in WooCommerce will be our action. So now when you come down here, you can see after choosing the app and after choosing the trigger event, you can see this term called webhook URL displayed over here. So what is this webhook? Webhook is an essential way to get data from an external software at Pabbly's end. So this webhook URL helps you to build a connection between the trigger software application and Pabbly Connect. So after choosing the app and choosing the trigger event, what we do is we copy this webhook URL from here and we go and paste it inside the trigger software application, which is Razorpay over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this webhook URL, and here you can carefully read the instructions, and now I'm going to go to my Razorpay. So I have already opened my Razorpay over here. So here, first of all, you have to make sure in which mode you are using your Razorpay account. Is it test mode or is it live mode? I am going to choose test mode, and now in order to put our webhook URL here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, and here at settings, I'm going to click on settings, and now here you can see webhooks. So I'm going to click on webhooks. Okay, so now I'm going to add new webhook over here. So I'll click on this. So here we have a dialog box over here. So first is webhook URL. So here you have to paste the webhook URL that you got from Pabbly Connect. So I'm going to paste it over here. Okay. Now coming to secret alert, you don't require active events. So here you have to search for invoice paid. This one. So I'm going to click on it. Okay, now I'll create the webhook. So we have successfully created a webhook and it has been saved successfully. Now I'll go back to Pabbly Connect, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture the webhook response. So now it is waiting for webhook response. That means it is time to do an invoice payment. Okay, so I'll go to my Razorpay account and here you can see invoices. So I'm going to create a new invoice before doing a payment. So I'm going to click on it. Okay, so here first I'm going to enter any invoice number. So I'll just enter it as VSS 12345. Okay, brief description or summary, I can just write Razorpay integration. Okay, now billing to select a customer. So now here you have to select a customer. So I'll just select one of them and I'll select this customer, 𝗪𝗵𝘆@gmail.com. So now here you have to make sure that whichever email and customer you are putting over here in Razorpay should also exist in your WooCommerce account. So now issue date is okay. Expiry date, I'll keep it as okay. So description here, I'll just put an item 1, and the price, I'll keep it as 15,000. Now here you have to make sure that whatever price you're choosing over here in Razorpay should also have an existing product in WooCommerce. For example, here I have chosen 15,000, and if I go to my WooCommerce account and if I go to my products, I'll show you. So if you come down, here you can see I have a product of 15,000, that is OnePlus phone. Okay, so now I'll just come down and rest of the details I don't need. I'll just finalize an issue. Issue invoice. So you can see we have successfully issued an invoice over here. You can see the invoice ID, created date, amount, receipt number, and the customer details over here. So now what we have to do is we have to pay the invoice. So I'm going to click on this link over here. And now I'll just copy this link and I'm going to open it in a new tab. Okay, so here we have the invoice. So now I'm going to pay 15,000. Okay. Okay, so here I have to enter the payment details. So I'm going to enter the test card details over here. So I've already opened it over here. So I'll just copy the test card details and I'll put it here. Okay, expiry. Okay, pay 15,000. I'll skip. Success. So you can see our invoice has been paid successfully and we have paid the amount as 15,000. So now I'll go back to Pabbly Connect. So you can see it has already captured the webhook response. That means we have successfully finished our integration. So now here you can see that we only entered the amount in our invoice as 15,000. But here in Pabbly Connect, it has captured it as 15 lakh. So what has happened over here is that JSON format doesn't support the decimals. That is why it has also considered the zeros that were there after the decimal. So now in order to make the amount correct, what we are going to do is we are going to trim the amount, and for this we are going to add an action step over here. Before that, I'll just save this. Okay, and now I will add an action step over here to trim this amount. So here I'm going to choose API. Okay, and in action event it will be get. Now endpoint URL. So here our company has already created our endpoint URL with the help of which you can easily trim the amount. So I have this URL over here. I'll just copy it from here and I'll paste it over here. You can find this endpoint URL in the description below the video. So now coming down here, I'm going to click on set parameters. So here amount will come, and here I'm going to map the amount that was captured in a wrong format. So I'll just search for the amount. So the amount is this one, that is 15 lakh. So I'll put it. And now I'm going to save and send test request. So now you can see we have got our correct amount. The invoice that we paid was of 15,000 and we have got the same over here. So now I'll save it. Okay. So here we have finished our second step also. So now after this step, what we are going to do is, now we have to make sure that whenever an amount of 15,000 comes from Razorpay, an order will be created of 15,000 in WooCommerce. So we are going to add an action step over here and we are going to put a filter. So I'm going to click on this plus button over here. Okay, so now here in choose app, I am going to put filter, this one. Okay, so here I am going to put the amount. So I'll just map the amount. So the amount that was correct was this one that we got from our API 2. So I'm going to map this one. So I'll just go down. And here you can see the correct amount. So I'm going to put it. So equal to, and I'm going to write 15,000 over here. So here our goal is whenever an amount is captured of 15,000, only then an order should be created by WooCommerce. I am doing this step because Razorpay is a payment gateway. And if you come here, so here you can see we have different orders in Razorpay of different amount. That is why in order to make sure that we have no confusion, I have made this third step over here, that is filter. So whenever an amount is of 15,000, only then an order will be created in WooCommerce. If you want, you can also put a product over here. And if you want, you can also put the product URL. So here I have selected the amount as 15,000. It depends upon you what you want. So now I'm going to save and send test request. So here you can see condition is true because our amount is 15,000. That is why we can go ahead with this amount. So now we have finished our third step also. And now what we are going to do is we are going to add the fourth action step over here. And I am going to choose WooCommerce. Okay. Now action event, the first task that we have to do here is we are going to check if the customer that we are going to get from Razorpay exists in WooCommerce or not. So for that, I am going to retrieve the email, this one, retrieve a customer by email. So I'm going to select on it. So we are doing this step so that we can make sure that whichever customer comes from Razorpay to WooCommerce, we want to make sure that customer already exists in WooCommerce or not. If the customer already exists in WooCommerce, then we can directly create the order. And if he doesn't exist, then we have to first create a customer and then create an order. So now I'm going to connect with WooCommerce and create new or select existing credentials. Now, if you have any existing credential like this, you can directly click on them and you can just follow. Now I'm going to put on new credentials. And here you can see it wants us to get our consumer key and consumer secret. You can read the instructions carefully. Now I'll go to my WooCommerce account and here I'll go to my settings. Okay, now I'll go to this advanced tab over here. And here you can see REST API. So I'm going to click on this. Add key. Okay, so description, I'm going to write it as Razorpay to WooCommerce. And permission, I'm going to put it as read or write because in Pabbly Connect, it has told us to create a new key with read or write permissions. Generate API key. So here you can see we have our consumer key and consumer secret. I'm going to copy my consumer key. I'll go back to Pabbly Connect and I'm going to paste it over here. Consumer secret, I'll copy it, go back to Pabbly Connect and I'll put it over here. So now website URL. So in order to get your website URL, I'm going to go back to my WooCommerce and I'm going to copy this from here. Go back to Pabbly Connect and I'm going to paste it over here. Now I'm going to save this. Okay, so now we have this email over here. So we have to enter the customer email to retrieve because we want to know if the customer already exists or not. So I'm going to map the customer's email that we have got from our API 1. Okay, it is here. Now I am going to save and send test request. So we have got our API response and here you can see we have the ID, the email, the name. So now here you have to remember that if the customer that comes from Razorpay is already added in WooCommerce, we'll get the ID, email and name. And the same has happened over here. We have the ID, the email and the name. That means this customer already exists in WooCommerce. And if this customer is not there in WooCommerce, you will get a blank response in API. So I'll just show you. If I come here and if I write ABC and save and send test request, you can see we have got the response as blank. That means this email 𝗪𝗵𝘆 𝗣𝗯𝗯𝗹𝘆 doesn't exist in WooCommerce. And if I remove this And if I click on save and send test request, you can see we have the ID, the name, the email. That means this email exists already as a customer in WooCommerce. So now I'm going to save this. Okay. So now on the basis of all these conditions that we have done, now we are going to use a router over here. Okay. So now this router is going to help us to develop two conditions over here. The first condition is going to be if a customer already exists in WooCommerce, then we'll only create the order for him. But if the customer doesn't exist in WooCommerce, then first we have to create the customer and then we'll create the order. So now I'll explain you by doing this practically. So here I'm going to choose router. Okay. So here you can see we have two conditions. So the first condition is going to be, I'll put the condition over here. If customer already exists, place order. I'll update this. Okay. The second one is going to be customer doesn't exist, create customer and place order. Update. So now these conditions might be clear to you. First condition is if customer already exists, we'll directly place the order. But if the customer doesn't exist, then we have to first create the customer and then place the order. So now I'm going to click on the settings over here. So here I have to first put the customer ID that we have retrieved from the third API. So I'll directly go to my third API over here. Okay. Okay, here we have retrieved the customer by email. So this is the ID. So I'm going to click on it. So in place of equal to, I'll put is exist. If the customer exists, save and send test request. So you can see condition is true. That means this customer exists. That is why what we are going to do is now we are going to place an order over here. So WooCommerce, and we are going to create an order. Connect with WooCommerce. So create new or select existing credentials. You can directly select the one if you have. I am going to go to new credentials and I have the consumer key and secret. I'll just copy it again and I'm going to paste it. Secret. Okay. URL. Okay. Save. Okay, so here you can see status is pending. So I'll make it as processing first. Currency. So I'm going to map the currency. Currency is INR. Okay, customer ID. So here we have to map the customer ID that we retrieved from the fourth action, that is fourth API. So I'll just map it. I'll go down. And if you come here, you can see this ID over here. The retrieve a customer by email one. Okay. Payment method title, all this is not required. Email, we'll just map the email. Okay. Quantity, I'll put it as 1. Save and send test request. So you can see we have got our API response. That means our integration is successful over here. So you can see everything is done. So I'm going to save it. Okay, so here we have finished our first condition, that is if customer already exists, place our order. So we have successfully placed an order in WooCommerce. I'll just minimize this and I'll click on done now. Okay, so we have successfully finished our first condition, that is if customer already exists, place an order. So here the customer existed, that is why we have placed an order in WooCommerce. So now let's begin with our second step condition where if customer doesn't exist, create customer and place order. So I'm going to click on setting and here I'll map the ID. So I'll go to API 4 here, ID, and I'll put here does not exist. Save and send test request. So here you can see condition is false because if the ID does not exist, we want the condition to be false. So now I'll just save it. Okay. Now I'll press on done. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are again going to go to Razorpay and we are going to create a new invoice of the customer who doesn't exist in WooCommerce. So I'll go to my trigger step over here and now I'm going to recapture the webhook response. So it is waiting for webhook response and I'll go to Razorpay and I'm going to create a new invoice over here. Okay, invoice number I'll put it as PPP 567. Description Razorpay to WooCommerce, and customer I'm going to put as, so I'm going to create a new customer, Louis Stevenson. Email is louis@gmail.com. Contact. Okay, create customer. So okay, now expiry date I'll keep it as 30th November and I'll add an item, and the amount again I'll keep it as 15,000 because that is what we want in our workflow. Whenever an amount is 15,000, only then our workflow will work. So now I'm going to issue invoice. Okay, so we have issued our invoice. Now let us pay. Okay, I'll just copy this link and I'm going to open it over here. Proceed to pay 15,000. I'll use a card and I'm going to put the test card details over here. Okay, expiry, card holder's name, Louis, CVV is okay. So you can see we have again paid an invoice for Louis Stevenson. I'll go back to Pabbly Connect and it has already captured the information. You can see. Okay, so you can see we have again captured our webhook response. If you go down here, you can see louis@gmail.com and the amount has again come as 15 lakh. And you can see Louis Stevenson was the name of the customer. So now I'm going to save it. And now after saving, I'm going to press Ctrl F5. Okay. So now our workflow has been refreshed. Now everywhere the details of louis@gmail.com has been captured. So here in API, it has the details of 𝗪𝗆. So I am just going to click on save and send test request. Okay, so response is blank because louis@gmail.com customer's detail doesn't exist in WooCommerce. So I'll just save it. Okay. Now in router, our first condition we had already fulfilled. Now in second condition, if customer doesn't exist, create customer and place order. So our louis@gmail.com doesn't exist in WooCommerce. That is why we are going to click on setting. Okay, so now here if customer doesn't exist, create customer and place order. So here our customer doesn't exist. So I'm going to create customer now. I'm going to choose WooCommerce. Okay, now an action event, we want to add new customer. Connect with WooCommerce. I am going to choose my last WooCommerce credentials and I'm going to save it. So email, I'll search for the email. Email is here, first name. You can see Louis Stevenson. So I have both the name over here. So I've put it over there. Okay, now email again. Okay. Save and send test request. So you can see API responses here. Okay, I'll just save it. So we have created a customer in WooCommerce if the customer doesn't exist. And now our second step is to create an order. So again, WooCommerce and okay, connect with WooCommerce. Okay, so here if you want, you can again go to WooCommerce and get your consumer key and secret. I am just going to choose my last credentials, save. Okay, so here I am going to put the details that we have got from our API 2, that is this one. Okay, so status, I'll put it as processing. Currency is INR. Okay, customer ID, so I'll map the customer ID that we have got from our last API. So you'll get it from here. Add new customer. This is the ID. I'll just remove this one. Payment method. Okay, I'll leave all this. Okay. Email. Here is the email. Quantity, I'll put it as 1. Save and send test request. Okay, we have got the API response again. That means we have successfully finished our integration. Okay, now I click on done. So we have successfully finished both our conditions over here. If customer already exists, directly place the order. And if customer doesn't exist, create customer and then place order. So our integration is done over here. Okay, so now let's go to WooCommerce and see if both our emails are there or not. So I'll go to WooCommerce and I'll go to my orders. So here you can see Hamish, Casper, Louis, both of the emails are over here and you can see the amount is 15,000. So our workflow is working fine. Now I'm going to show you this process again with few examples so that you can understand how this integration takes place in real time. So now I'll go back to Razorpay and I'll go to Invoice. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new invoice. Okay, so invoice number, I'll put it as 001. Description, Razorpay to WooCommerce. Okay, so I'm going to choose a customer, Joseph @Pabbly.com. That is this one. Okay, expiry date, 30th November. Item and price, I'll put it as 15,000. Okay. Finalize an issue. And now I am going to copy the link, paste it over here. And now I'm going to do a payment. So I'm going to put some test card details. Paste. Card holder's name ABC, CVV123. Okay. Success. So you can see invoices paid over here. Now let's go to WooCommerce and see if a new order is created there or not. So I'll go to orders. Okay, so you can see Joseph is over here. So we have successfully added an order in WooCommerce now when an invoice was paid in Razorpay. So now what I'm going to do is I'll again go to Razorpay and I'm again going to create an invoice. So this time I'm going to create an invoice and I'm going to add the customer who doesn't exist in WooCommerce. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in select a customer, I'm going to create new customer, Sophia. Email is sophia@gmail.com. Contact number. Okay, create customer. So now in item, I'm going to write 15,000. Now I'm going to finalize an issue. Okay. So I've created an invoice over here. So now I am going to copy this invoice link and I'm going to make a payment. Proceed to pay 15,000. I'll use a card. So I'm going to use a test card detail. Okay. So we have again paid an invoice of sophia@gmail.com. Now this customer doesn't exist in WooCommerce. Now let us see if an order is created there or not. So I'll go to WooCommerce. I'll refresh the page. Okay, so you can see Sophia is over here. So we have successfully created an order when an invoice was paid in Razorpay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm again going to show you one more example where I'm going to put a different amount rather than 15,000 and let us see if an order is created here or not. So I'll go to Razorpay and I'm going to again create an invoice. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'll just leave the summary customer. I'll create Louis itself and expiry date 30th. Okay. Item. And here I'm going to choose 10,000. Finalize an issue. Okay. So now I am going to copy this link from here. Okay. So proceed to pay. I'll again enter the test card details over here. CVV is okay. Okay, so we have again paid an invoice, but the amount here is 10,000. Let's go to WooCommerce and see if this is displayed over there or not. So I'll just refresh the page. Okay, so the invoice that we paid recently was 10,000. That is why it is not getting displayed over here. So here we have successfully finished our integration and our integration is working fine. Now I'll go back to Pabbly Connect and I'm going to show you what has happened in our examples. I'll just minimize this. Okay, so in this workflow, what we did was whenever an invoice was paid in Razorpay, we wanted to create an order in WooCommerce automatically. So first of all, what we did was we first created a trigger event over here by putting an invoice paid over here. Then what we did was we first used the trim amount URL in order to trim the amount which was captured in a wrong format. Then we used a filter in order to finalize whichever invoice is paid in Razorpay of 15,000, only that will be stored as a WooCommerce order. And after that, what we did was we retrieved the customer by email because we wanted to know if a customer that comes from Razorpay is already a customer in WooCommerce or not. And after this, in our fifth step, that is last step, what we did was we set up a router to fulfill our two conditions. If customer already exists, place order. If customer doesn't exist, create customer and then place order. So we have successfully finished our integration and our integration is working fine. And we have integrated Razorpay and WooCommerce using Pabbly Connect.
Not just these two software applications, but you can integrate any software application using Pabbly Connect. If you have any queries, you can contact us at admin@pabbly.com and our team will help you. For more, you can also visit our website at www.pabbly.com. Thank you.